Yeah, you can join us on Facebook. Yeah, you can join us on Facebook. This is unannounced. It's an impromptu thing. We just got on right now, so I understand. All right, I guess we all right. Can you hear me? I'm getting it feedback. Can you hear me? Alrighty. I guess we're good to go now. Um, like I said, this was not the usual um way of us coming to you. By the way, my name is Nana Osei Bonsu Jr. of Africa International Organization and Certo Leadership International. And as I said earlier, I am really saddened by some videos going on online and what's going on, especially in South Africa. I'm going to try as much as possible to control my emotions because I was emotionally charged when I first saw those videos. But as part of leadership traits, you would have to, any good leader would have to know how to control his or her emotions. So I am really going to be measured and try as much as possible to control my emotions as we discuss this very important, volatile, and situation. First of all, I would want to say that what is going on in South Africa is a shame, is a big shame. And this tells you the ignorance of some people in South Africa. And as I'm speaking against xenophobia in South Africa, I'm speaking against xenophobia everywhere it is found, especially on the continent of Africa. It is unacceptable for a house divided against itself. It is a shame. It is despicable. And it tells you the ignorance of some of these perpetrators. But I'm going to be looking at this issue in two folds. I'm going to be looking at the issue from the perspective of the ignorant citizens who are pushing the agenda of South Africans or South Africa for only South Africans, and that all African um, citizens must leave. And I'll also look at it from the perspective of the government. You see, that is why leadership is important in every community. And those of you who've known this platform, we always talk about leadership. This platform is about grooming and growing the next generation of leaders who would be able to execute leadership. In its proper contexts. Because for the most part, it's one of the topics or one of the subjects that has really been misconstrued and misunderstood, especially on the continent of Africa or by people of African descent. Let me put it that way. And so we try as much as possible to straighten the narratives of leadership on this platform. And that is why we have AfriWake International Organization and Certo Leadership International as entities to be able to groom the youth and prepare the next generation of leaders who would be able to execute leadership in order to bring progress and development to the people of Africa and African descent. And so with that being said, I want to jump straight into what's going on in South Africa. And it's a shame. And I'm saddened as an African to see what's going on in South Africa, where some ignorant South Africans would decide to fight and decide to brutalize their own people. I don't care where they come from, so long as they wear the same skin color as you, should give you an identity to be able to relate to. And if that does not mean anything to you, then I'm sorry. You're very, very ignorant. And I'm speaking to the ignorant South Africans who are pushing the agenda of South Africa belonging to only South Africans and not the other Africans. As a matter of fact, Africa belongs to all Africans. I don't care where you come from on the continent of Africa. You should be able to freely move and live anywhere in Africa. Because if you're not ignorant and you are educated about the things of Africa, you realize that we are related one way or the other, irrespective of where you come from. And so to the ignorant South Africans who believes that South Africa belongs to just them, hear me and hear me well. You are wrong, and you cannot do that to your own brothers and sisters. These are your brothers and sisters, and it is wrong for you to brutalize them for no crime committed other than the fact that they migrated to come live with you. And not because they're committing any crimes, it's just because you believe or you think in your wildest dreams that they are snatching your jobs away from you. And in any case, if you have any qualifications, if you were creative enough to create jobs, it does not matter where you live. It does not matter who your neighbor is. And in any case, if your neighbor is thriving because you think that person is creative or creating jobs, the wisest person will get closer to this person and learn from that person. But you do not brutalize that person. You do not hate that person. You do not push that person out of your country. And if the person commits a crime, let the law take its course. You don't take the law in your hands. And in any case, if you think these people are there illegally, just let the immigration people do their job. Let the immigration do its job by coming after these illegal immigrants. If you believe they are illegal immigrants, report them to the appropriate authorities and let them do their job. You have no business taking the law in your hands to be able to brutalize people, your own brothers and sisters. And that is what aggravates me. And these people have not committed any crime other than the fact that they have migrated to South Africa. I'm not even going to say your country because Africa belongs to Africans. It was colonization that brought boundaries into Africa. We never had boundaries. We had kingdoms. And so if we have boundaries now, we should see ourselves as one people, same people, residing in different places. When we are now talking about pushing the boundaries out of Africa and granting people visa-free, Africans visa-free to be able to move freely in Africa, these ignorant South Africans are making the job difficult for us to unite as one people, as one Africa. And if I talk about ignorance, uneducated South Africans, I'm not talking about people who've been to school and learned how to read and write. As a matter of fact, some of these people know how to read and write. They've been to school, but they are still uneducated. And I call them uneducated, schooled people because they are not using their intelligence to be able to understand the ecosystem of the African continent. And so that is to the ignorant, uneducated South Africans who were pushing this agenda that South Africa belongs to just South Africans. And now my next bone to pick is with the authorities. For how long are you going to sit and look on unconcerned? For some of these ignorant South Africans to brutalize law-abiding people in South Africa. If these people are ignorant, what is going on with those in authority? What is going on with the government of South Africa? That is where I'm going to have the biggest bone to pick with. The government of South Africa. What are you doing about it? It's not a matter of rhetorics. Just speaking to the cameras that you do not support. If you do not support, put boots on the ground and make sure this is prevented. Because it's happening too often. People are being brutalized. People are being maimed. People are being killed. Lives are at risk. And yet at the end of the day, you go to sit in African Union meetings. What is the essence of the African Union meetings? If Africans cannot move freely amongst themselves within the African continent, what is the essence of the African Union meetings? And in any case, remember, During the time of apartheid, I hate to bring this up, but I have to bring it up to remind you. During the time of apartheid, the whole of the African continent stood with South Africa. We cried with you. We fought with you. We struggled with you. We made noise with you. We stood with you. And so for nothing at all, this is not how you should behave. That is why you need to educate your people, your ignorant citizens, to understand the brotherhood and the sisterhood that exists between all African countries. And so shame on you, the government of South Africa, by looking on unconcerned. It is not a matter of speeches. It's a matter of putting boots on the ground to prevent some of these heinous and unscrupulous and brute behavior of some of these South Africans against their own brothers and sisters, claiming that we are building our country. Go build your country. Who told you that it takes only one tribe to build a country or to build a community? Do you know why the United States of America is one of the greatest countries in the world? Because it brought minds, great minds from all over the world. It has great minds and great talent from all over the world to build this great nation called the United States of America. And so no nation, no tribe, no creed can be great on its own. You need other people to make you great. The economy of South Africa is being contributed by other Africans, by the people you're brutalizing. They're contributing to the economy of South Africa. That is how ignorant some of you people are. You don't even understand the economics of your country. That is why I don't blame the ignorant South African, but I blame the government of South Africa, who is not educating the people enough, who is not fighting against this xenophobia enough. And this is becoming one too many of South Africans. Anytime we talk about xenophobia, people first mention South Africa. And that shouldn't be it. That is not the South Africa Mandela sought to build. That is not the South Africa Thabo Mbeki sought to build. And that is not the South Africa Molema is seeking to build. Molema is seeking to build a South Africa which would embrace all Africans, embrace Black people as their own, who will see other Africans as brothers and sisters. Molema is talking about breaking down the walls, the barriers. To unite Africa as one people. If we stay fragmented, if we stay separated, we can never achieve that greatness we were born to achieve. And so the earlier we put a stop to these ignorant activities, the better for all of us as Black people. What is going on in South Africa is not a shame to just South Africans, but is a shame to all of Africa as a people and as a continent. And so I want to appeal passionately to the politicians in South Africa, to the government of South Africa, to not just speak against xenophobia, but to act against it. Resource the local police authorities educated the people for them to understand the unity of all of Africa and stop this nonsense. Because these immigrants you are brutalizing are contributing greatly to the economics of your communities. Your so-called communities you think you're protecting. These immigrants are contributing greatly to the economic development of that community. And so I'm going to be brief here. The government of South Africa rise up to this occasion and do the right thing. Do not sit on concern and just make speeches against the xenophobia without acting. And that is becoming the usual trend of African politicians, making beautiful speeches, beautiful empty speeches and not acting. Xenophobia has no place in Africa. Xenophobia should have no place in South Africa. Anywhere it happens needs to be condemned with all force, with all passion, and with all our strength. It is barbaric. It is not accepted anywhere on the continent of Africa, especially in this day and age when we're talking about the unity of Africa. So African Union, rise up to the occasion. Do something about what is going on in South Africa. The regional blocs, rise up to the occasion. Do something about what is going on in South Africa, because this is unacceptable. You cannot allow and sit on and look on unconcerned where your citizens are brutalizing other human beings who have committed no crime, but for the fact that they migrated to South Africa just to better their lives and to also contribute to the development of your economy. You cannot build South Africa by yourselves. You need your neighbors. You need your brothers and sisters. No single community can stand by itself without the contribution, the help, and the push from their neighbors. So I want to appeal to the the AU, the African Union. I want to appeal to the regional blocs in Africa. I want to appeal to the government of South Africa to begin to put boots on the grounds to do the job and not just the rhetorics. Because the rhetorics alone is not going to help us. And we're tired of the rhetorics. We need action. These ignorant South Africans who are being senseless needs to be brought to book. Because they are breaking the laws of South Africa. And even if these people are illegal immigrants, you still have no business putting your hands on anybody. Or you have no business going around asking people for their immigration status when you don't work for the immigration of South Africa. That is uncivilized. It's barbaric. And it's uncouth what you're doing. You think you're being patriotic? You're being you're pushing or making the job of African Union difficult, and you're being ignorant. I don't care your schooling qualifications. If you cannot understand these simple economic and social principles, then I'm sorry. I don't care what certificate you have. You are ignorant. And so African Union rise up to the occasion. The regional blocs in Africa rise up to the occasion. Because I know Nelson Mandela will be turning in his grave. All of these African countries contributed to the freedom and to the breaking down of the walls of apartheid in South Africa. And you cannot reward us or reward the African country for standing with you this way. And so I put the blame squarely at the footsteps of the government of South Africa. Do something about what is going on. It is unacceptable. You should be ashamed of yourselves. This is a disappointment to Nelson Mandela. It is a disappointment to the image of African Union. This is not what Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the Secretaries, Nelson Mandela's, and the host of all these African giants who sought to put Africa together as one solid block and as one economic giant of the world had in mind. So it is better the African Union rises up to the occasion. It's better the regional blocs rise up to the occasion. It's better the South African government rise up to the occasion. Because mind you, you have South Africans in the other parts of the African countries as well. So if you can't think about your own people in the other parts of the African countries and stop this nonsense, it tells me you're not intelligent. Yeah, I'm using some harsh words here. Like I said, I'm really restraining myself. But these harsh words must be used for you to understand the scope of what is at stake. Because you have other South Africans. You have them in Ghana, you have them in Nigeria, you have them in Sierra Leone, you have them in Gambia, you have them in Ethiopia, you have them in Uganda, you have them in Burundi, you have them all over the place. Why? Because it is one Africa for all. I don't care where you come from. It's one Africa for all. And so Africans should be able to move freely. And so I just want you to start thinking. Think through that barbaric actions of yours to understand that what you're doing to other people in your country, you have your own people, South Africans in other countries as well. Why must we pick up arms against our own people? Why must we kill our own people? Why must we fight our own people? Why must we brutalize our own people? South African is no different from a Ghanaian. A South African is no different from an Ethiopian. A South African is no different from a Sudanese. A South African is no different from an Egyptian. Can you just imagine? Somebody from Texas is being brutalized in Virginia because he's from Texas. What sense does it make? Somebody from Washington State is being brutalized in Maryland because he's from Washington State. Can, aren't we ashamed of ourselves? This is a shame. And the earlier we fixed this nonsense, the better for us. And so, African Union, please do not sit and look unconcerned. The regional blocs, please do not sit and look unconcerned. The government of South Africa, please do not sit and look unconcerned. Because when you were in pain in South Africa, Africans did not sit and look unconcerned. People spoke against what was going on against our brothers and sisters in South Africa. People joined hands with Nelson Mandela's, Oliver Thambos, Walter, and what's his name? Steve Biko, and all these people. We solidarized with you. I remember I was then a kid watching movies of what's going on in South Africa. And I was so furious because it's happening to my brothers and sisters in South Africa. Only to turn around and do the same thing to the same people who stood with you, who fought with you for your freedom. That's a big shame. And all of y'all had to bow your heads in shame. This is my submission for today. It was not planned, but as I kept watching the videos, I felt I had to put in my 2 piece. So just share the video. Let's spread the word that this should not be happening to our brothers and sisters. We cannot execute mayhem on our own brothers and sisters. This is unacceptable. So African Union, the regional blocs in Africa, the government of South Africa, rise up to the occasion and curb this nonsense. Thank you.